Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited. This episode of Ignited is brought to you by Chosen Foods, a San Diego-based health food company best known for starting the avocado oil craze.
You know, I love avocado oil because I can't burn down the kitchen. I mean, it has a really, really high smoke point, like 500 degrees, and a really beautiful neutral flavor, so I don't mess up the food even if I forget it on the stove for a little too long, which, let's admit, happens every once in a while.
Chosen Foods offers a variety of healthy fats and clean label products like avocado oil mayo and avocado-based salad dressings, so yummy. And they're helping people on their wellness journey through the promotion of natural, real food made with clean label ingredients.
So for 50% off your order of $10 and more, all you got to do is visit chosenfoods.com/ignited and use promo code IGNITED50. That's IGNTD 50 during checkout.
Awesome.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ignited podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
Soph, did you ever think that you would talk to a goat farmer on this podcast?
Nope. Definitely didn't consider that.
No, right? That wasn't. I don't think that was like a high up on the list. You when you lived in Boonesboro, do we ever tell the story of your childhood growing up and
Not really.
all the moving and everything?
We haven't hit that. I mean, we talked about the moving, but we didn't really talk about Boonesboro specifically.
All right. Well, shout out to Boonesboro.
Shout out Beantown.
Beantown. You guys call it Beantown?
We called it
too?
Beantown. I know.
Oh, it's like
There's
a
another
Boston
but
thing?
it was Beantown.
Okay.
Boonesboro.
So did you know any goat farmers in Beantown? You knew farmers,
I feel like
right?
Kelsey had goats.
Did she have goats?
Yeah.
Kelsey, please comment on whatever share you see of this.
Yeah, I don't think that Lydia's family had goats. I'm trying to think who had goats. I wasn't really mad connected to everyone's farms. Like it just kind of was like, we were kids, so it was.
I mean, Kelsey had llamas.
She did have llamas.
I know that. If I know that, then, you guys definitely were somewhat connected to her.
I just mean like, it's not like we hung out on the farm. We hung out in her house. The farm existed outside of us. And
they weren't like connected?
I mean, we didn't hang out. We just went into her house and played, and we go like play outside, but we didn't go into the stables. We didn't go into,
Okay.
like.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It was kind of separate.
I mean, I didn't have any friends in Rochester or in Brighton, which was the suburb of Rochester I lived in, who were farmers per se, but like across the street from us were cows always.
Sure. But you didn't go chill with them. They were just there.
Assholes at my high school would go cow tipping.
Obviously. It's like the thing to do. I never went, but that's what people did.
Obviously. It's so ridiculous.
Horrible. Redneck activities.
Hey, what do you want to do today? Well, I'd like to hurt some animals really
so
badly.
Mean.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Wow, that was a weird aside. I was thinking, we were writing the title for this thing today, and like goat farmer was never going to be one of those things that I thought we would write into a title.
You just never know.
No, you don't. And that's actually what I liked so much about doing this podcast. Like from those of you who've reached out to us and the connections we've made, to the couples we've talked to the professionals we've interviewed and connected with. It was really, really fun. And so, I feel like Dana, who we interviewed today, when I first got exposed to his stuff, which I heard about him through this whole world, for those of you who, I don't know, this is the first episode you're ever listening to, when I decided to move all my stuff online, and I had to start learning how did that function? Like, what do people do online? How do they do it? And I had to learn online marketing, which it's funny, but like in the scheme of things, if you would have asked me what field I was never going to delve deep into, online marketing was probably high up on that list. But then when I wanted to have a course that would impact people, I had to figure out how to get to them.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you had to go through the same thing, I guess, with philosophy.
There's so many things that in order to get the thing that you want to get, you have to learn skills as an entrepreneur that you would never otherwise wanted to learn. And
totally.
It's just the way it works. You just have to be a jack of all trades and do all the things.
Yeah. Well, like when I was in grad school and I wanted to start writing about addiction, I had to, this is back in the day where blogs were like a novel thing. You know, this is, God, like 9 years ago. And so I had to learn how to blog and how to create a WordPress site and all this stuff. And that was big. And I never wanted to become a programmer or a developer or anything like that, but you just had to learn what you have to do. And so as I was embarking on this world, I ran into Dana. I'd never heard of him before, but I ran into him at this conference, and this concept of the Dream 100 came up. And, you know, one of the things, I don't remember if I talk about this in the interview with him, but in academia, there's definitely a collaborative thing, right? All the labs work together. You share information. For sure, the people who work in the labs work together on projects. Mm-hmm. For some reason around business, especially when I left academia, there was this sense of like, you go at it alone, you work hard, you plow forward, and eventually you either succeed or you fail.
For sure. It's isolating.
But that's not the way you do it.
No, I don't. But typical business, I feel like, is that way. You go handle your shit. Like, I wouldn't say as much entrepreneurs, and because of the world of social media, not as much as anymore, but just not the way I do business.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for you, collaboration
is key.
Primarily around social media. So like maybe not so much initially when you started philosophy.
No, but collaboration in all ways. Before there was social media, my whole thing was community events.
Yeah.
I would get people together, grab a tip jar, teach a yoga class or a HIIT class.
Did you say chip jar or tip jar?
A tip jar. Like it wasn't about making money. It was about bringing together a community, setting up a philosophy table, handing out smoothie samples. That's what lit me up, and that's what philosophy is founded on, is these community events.
Yeah. I remember doing those, and you used to man all those tables.
Oh yeah, every table I did myself. I taught the class, then I can create a community with these people. I talked to you guys. We connected face to face. I handed out samples. I made beautiful smoothie bowls, brought snacks, like hustled from the ground up. But that's what lights me up. It's still what lights me up. I love having events.
Yeah. You still have them.
Yeah.
Pretty
and
often.
now it's just there's also an online community. So that's where I am also.
Yeah, because I guess you're right. When you started, you had a Facebook page or something, but that was it.
Barely. Yeah, I had a blog.
That's right. How it all starts.
That's how it all starts.
It all starts with the blog.
That's how it did start. Now it's different.
Yeah. And so you had that collaborative thing all the time. I had to put your head down and just work. And we can go into this one day if it matters at all, but that didn't serve me at alternatives by itself. It ended up just becoming this competitive thing within the business, which sucked.
Alternatives is a business that Adi had for 5 years here in Beverly Hills. It was an outpatient rehab, and they helped people struggling with all types of different addictions. And
we ended up helping a few hundred people over those.
Yeah, and it was great.
Years.
Like in the way that they helped people, it was amazing and profound and cutting edge, but it just wasn't. It didn't serve you in the way that it didn't light you up every day.
I learned a lot.
You learned so much, and working with the clients was wonderful for you, but the business aspect and having employees and all of that was really challenging.
Well,
having overhead.
I was new to business, for sure, and I wasn't ready for the kind of elbowing that people do, like the pushing and the. I don't know. There was this element that I never grew up around. Right? Again, grew up around academia, and so it was you join forces and you write stuff together, and that was the world. And even there, I had to kind of learn how to get a foothold, but it was very different in business. And so one of the things that really, really attracted me to this concept of the Dream 100 when I first heard about it was, this concept of, well, who do you want to reach? Who would you like to work with? Who would you like to collaborate with? And to create this dream list. And I feel like in almost every other area of my life, especially relationships, but in almost every other area of my life or in every other time in my life, I think it's after kind of my recovery and getting back to this normal side of life, I've definitely shied away from doing some of these things. But perseverance and reaching out for people that seemed impossible at the time, or goals that seemed impossible at the time, is kind of my calling card. Going to UCLA in grad school after being in jail, and like an ex-drug dealer, Even I remember like when I was at UCLA working in campus events, like reaching out to agents for big bands and trying to get them booked. That was always a big thing for me. But this idea that through collaboration, you bring growth to yourself too, is really powerful for me. And I feel like really released me from this notion that I have to figure out how to create all of this on my own.
Absolutely. We can't. We shouldn't be expected to be able to create everything on our own. And also, then you're just spread so thin. You know, like, how can you be your biggest, brightest self if you're doing everything and kind of half doing everything?
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking to others for support, looking to others to do things, delegating, looking to your team, looking to be beyond that, looking to your community. How can they help you? How can they support you? How can they help you grow? How can you help them? All of that.
Well, I feel like that really, again, at the time, I didn't really bring it to business, but that's kind of what we preach around relationships in general, right? I mean, we talked about this forever, like when we were trying to get pregnant, and you always would say, well, no, I'm going to tell everybody as soon as I find out, because if there's a problem and if I miscarry, these are the people I want to have the support of.
Exactly.
And so I don't want to come at them randomly and say, either A, not be able to deal with it and not be able to talk to them about it because they didn't know that you were pregnant in the first place, or have to come to them and say, hey, I never told you this was going on, but now I've had a miscarriage and I'd like your support.
Right. The way that I heal and the way that I live my life is through vulnerability. So even if it's scary, and even if, I mean, you don't ever want to think about the possibility of a miscarriage, it's awful, but it is a reality, and sometimes for some people. So for me, getting pregnant, every time there was that risk, and I was like, I'm still going to tell people before that 12-week mark where, you know, miscarriage is low, because I know I'm going to need them at some point.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm going to need to celebrate with them. So one way or another, I want them along for the ride.
Yeah. And I think that, again, I think we're both, I mean, look at the sharing you've done, the sharing we've done around the sex addiction stuff, the cheating, all of that. That's exactly the sort of information that most people hold in. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, you've been in the room with me a bunch of times when we work with other couples, and we kind of deliver the same message, which is, hey, just be transparent. Start here with us in the room, because that's easier than to everybody in your life. But the transparency will win you the kind of understanding and growth that you're looking for, that I think a lot of people wrongfully believe they will gain from the hiding. Like, oh, he cheated, but we'll just figure that out among the two of us, not tell anybody, and then everything will be okay because everybody will know that we're actually a perfect couple.
Exactly. No, we need, in all different ways, we need support.
Yeah. And so
I think that segues into your tip very nicely.
Yeah. So the topic, or the word I wanted to use around this tip today, is the concept of reciprocity, and the idea that in all relationships, giving is powerful and creates stronger relationships and benefits you in the long term. And from basic research, it kind of shows that when somebody gives you something, you feel better about them, you like them better, you rank them higher. To research that has shown us that when you give away some of what you have, you actually feel better about your own life, about your own day.
Yeah.
That's why I talk
the act of giving.
Yeah, the act of giving. And so I talk to people about that today. And again, I'm going to keep this in the context of relationships. A lot of people, and I definitely used to live in this world, live in a tit for tat, balanced, I'll give as long as I'm getting at the same level, that kind of world. And they maybe don't keep account of it in a kind of like literally keeping a ledger and having, you know, today I gave my girlfriend some flowers. They cost me $15. Like, maybe not to that level, but they keep track. And the problem is that while reciprocity will still work if you keep track, like if you keep in your head who you gave what to, yes, those people you gave things to will build up the relationship with you. But the problem is that it starts creating an expectation of payback. And I think that destroys the value of the act of giving.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that. I have a huge problem with that in my own relationships with people that like keep track in their heads and their hearts of like, well, I did that favor for you at that point, therefore where am I at? Where's mine?
Yeah.
And it's just not, it's not the way I give. Like I give so full-heartedly and like so full on. There's no, I expect the people in my life that love me to do things for me.
Yeah.
And I will do the same, but there's no contest. There's no tit for tat. That just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I'd love to hear from readers about this, but I don't know that for a lot of people, the act of giving is the first thing they think of as a way to move up. I think a lot of people feel like you hold on to and you get as much for yourself, and that's how you move up in the world.
I think people do think that way. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? What is maybe you don't think this way, but maybe you experience this a lot in your community or with your relationship, maybe with past relationships.
Yeah. And so in this interview with Dana, we talk about his book. We have a link for you all, by the way, to get the book in the show notes. So check it out. And when I listened to it, I got to listen to the audiobook version, and we're actually giving away 2 books. So we'll do a raffle for that. But he talks a lot about giving, and he's got like an entire system. Like his whole business is built around giving these people that he wants to collaborate with. And he literally built his entire business around it. And it's really fun when you listen to the examples of what he gives. They're not the thing that you would think because he's thoughtful about the gifts that he gives. And so the relationship tip for me is around the concept of understanding the power of reciprocity, understanding the power of giving and what it does to your relationship, while removing the part where you expect a specific outcome. Because while giving will improve your life, it might not improve it exactly in the way that you want it to. And the expectation can actually end you up in a place where you're unhappy with the result of your giving.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So beautiful.
So
can't wait to see you put that into practice.
You say that all the time.
I can't wait.
I feel like at some point, people are going to start thinking that I literally sit around and do nothing at home.
I think they're pretty clear that you do not do nothing at home.
Like I think we've talked about the letter. We've talked about a handful of these things, and you end the episode with like,
yeah, I can't wait
to see you.
I can't wait. You're giving it as a relationship tip. I cannot wait to see you put it into practice.
All right, everybody.
I'll keep you updated.
We'll tag you all on our reciprocity Instagram post.
I can't wait for these random acts of gifts.
Yeah. On that note, everybody, we will see you on the other side.
Yeah,
Just
it's a really fun interview. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye. This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fix all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the conversation piece of this Ignited podcast. No matter where you're sitting right now, no matter what you're doing, there's no fucking way you're ready for the conversation we're about to have. Dana is not like any other guest we've ever had on, and I think he would just be proud of that more than anything else. And so I got introduced to you, Dana, through all this digital marketing stuff that I got involved in for Ignited to try to get the message out about what we're doing and my work with addicts, etc. And there was something so unique about the way you delivered your message, and we're going to talk about that a lot here today. And the approach you have to business, which I love, and I think people will love, and it deals with relationships and etc. And just everything you do. But obviously, one of the first things that comes up, you're literally wearing a hat. Nobody's going to be able to see it because we don't do video, but you're literally wearing a hat that says "Go to Bell." Go to hell? Is that go to hell?
It says hell, yeah.
Okay, so when people hear about Dana, the first thing they hear about is him being a goat farmer. And I don't know how many videos of you or pictures of you with goats in different cars and in different situations I've seen at this point. But I got to start out by just asking this. How the fuck does like a goat farmer end up becoming a master of business relationships? Like, you got to walk me through that somehow.
Well, I have to introduce my guest here. This is the goat that is also the pattern interrupter.
The pattern interrupter.
So anytime a D needs to be thrown off, he will make his noise. But dude, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. And so long story with the goat farming thing, but basically I grew up as a farmer on a small dairy farm in Wisconsin. And I knew from a young age, like, I do not want to do this for a living, like all the physical labor. So I started goofing around on the internet as a kid. Fast forward, 20 years, and I became an internet marketer. And it's, as you know, it's kind of a world filled with really shitty people.
Yeah.
And a lot of just douchebags and I don't know. So I just wanted to I missed my roots of being a farmer. So I just brought that with. So I guess I'm the goat farmer that also knows internet marketing and all that stuff.
I love it. Do you mind? I mean, I'm going to dig in a tiny bit. Like, what does goofing around on the internet when you were younger mean?
Yeah. So it's like, my dad offered to pay me $20 to unload 3 hay wagons. And I'm like, geez, like I need to figure out how I can make $20 from my computer. There's no way, I can't do that anymore. So I started on eBay as a kid. And so I just looked around the house on stuff my parents weren't using, threw it up there, started selling stuff. And then that led to,
I love it. That totally reminds me of something Gary Vee always says is like, we all have a phone and there's Craigslist and eBay. You can make fucking money today on the internet. You don't have to wait. And so you literally, you're like, my dad never touches that chair. I'm going to go sell it.
Yeah, exactly. And then that got me into man, I just made a bunch of money off that computer. I should start doing that more. And then I started building computers and then selling those. And then I sold my first car on Craigslist and I was like, damn, I just made $1,000 on one object. So then I started fixing up cars and stuff and selling them. And then,
I love it, man. Yeah. I love it. I mean,
awesome.
I love it just because it's such an improbable story. And those are the ones that always touch me the most. Is you were in a situation, we were talking about this for a second right before we started, you were in a situation where nobody living around you. It's almost like the first person to go to college in in a town, nobody living around you was going, well, you could be a farmer or you could do internet marketing. That was never mentioned. And somehow you just found your passion because you're not only you're good at it, obviously, but you also love it. It's funny, when I see you speak, you get so excited about it. And to me, that's how you really hit the jackpot. You talk about a lot of people who are sleazy. Look, we all have to make money. We all have to get paid. Otherwise I'm not going to be able to feed my family and I'm not going to be able to, go get us a car so we can drive our kids to school. Life would suck if we didn't have a dime.
But you don't have to be a douchebag about it.
You don't have to be a douchebag. And what I love about Dana's message is I came from this world originally. So I had no business experience. My dad was an academic. My mom worked a job at a bank. Right? That was the history I came from. So entrepreneurship was something I discovered by chance, in my past. I don't know if you know anything about my past, but drug dealing is what allowed me to discover that I liked entrepreneurship. That didn't go so well when I went to jail. So I had to figure out something after. But when I would see a lot of other people, it was me. Let me get as much for myself as possible. And I told you this before, the reason, and I know we'll talk about this for most of the podcast today, that I wanted to get in touch with you is your whole thing is forget about me, and find the other people around who are in your sphere, who you're attracted to, who you want to connect with. And it's through those relationships you're going to be able to have the success that you have. And honestly, I'll tell you, that's one of the first times I ever heard that message. Sophie does that in social media with collaboration, and kind of connecting different social media influencers together so that their power grows together. And I love that, right? Because it's a group. And so you figured this out, but again, you were selling on your own. Like you were taking stuff from home, or you were fixing a car, or you were making a computer and selling it. That's the me version of it. How did you get to this Dream 100, this figure out your people? On Dream 100, I don't think is necessarily like your thing, but how did you hear about it first, and how did you implement that as really the way you do what you do now?
Yeah. That's an awesome question. So, I got in I've become like the dude that took the seat of like championing the Dream 100 because I tried everything else, like straight up. And I could rant about that, but the reality is there's so many shiny objects floating around, and I chased them around for a decade. And I struggled. My business was like this forever. And, I finally found the thing that I had been doing without knowing I was doing it. And so I'll back up a step so I'm not sure if your audience is too familiar with the Dream 100, but
no, not at all. So explain.
Okay. Yeah. So basically I did not invent this concept. A guy named Chet Holmes did. And a long story short, he, years ago was working for a magazine, and he was in charge of selling advertising. And what happened was his magazine was in the bottom. They sucked. They were kind of struggling. And so he decided, okay, this is not okay. So he looked at all of his competitors, so all the other magazines, right, in that space. And then he looked at all the companies that were buying ad space in the competitor magazines. And he's like, all right, I'm going to list out. He made a list of all those companies. And he's like, these are my dream clients. So he called it his Dream 100. And he relentlessly pursued them. And 6 months later, nothing happened. But then 2 years later, after continuing to relentlessly pursue them, he took his magazine from last to first. And so the first like epiphany I had, that everyone has actually with the Dream 100 is like, holy shit, I'm doing this without knowing I'm doing it. Right? They never put a name on it.
Yeah.
So for me, I grew up in a small town. We had nothing, dude. We didn't even have a grocery store, a movie theater, anything in my town. We had a gas station that sold Slim Jims, right?
Same.
Right? Okay, cool.
You had one light.
We had a gas station.
We had a gas station. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so did we. One. And so like our thing was football, like that, or sports really. So I was like diehard sports and football, and growing up, and nobody played college football really, or any sport for that matter from our town. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to just not play after high school. I love this. So, like, I want to play college football. My coaches never played college football. Nobody did. Nobody had a connection to get me recruited. So I was like, screw it. I printed off a list of 40 different schools I wanted to play for. I put together a recruiting packet with a letter of recommendation from my coach, my highlight tape, handwritten written letter to them. And I sent it off. And like 3 weeks passed, nothing happens. I'm like, dang, that was a waste of time.
I love this story.
And then I'm sitting in class and I get called to the principal's office. And I'm like, oh crap, that's not good for me to get called down there. So I'm like, what'd I do? And I get there and there's a football coach standing in there. And he's there to recruit me. I'm like, whoa, you're here to recruit me? Like nobody does that. And pretty soon, one after another came. And one day I remember there were two there at the same time. And from different schools. I'm like, damn, this is so cool. So I ended up getting an athletic scholarship, which I'm the first and only in the history of my school to get that. And it's all because of the Dream 100. I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Right. I love that story for so many reasons. First of all, in the context of what Sophie and I do, just like reach for your fucking dreams. Like whatever you want to do.
Also just manifest it. Like
yes.
You have to have been done before. Like exactly what you're talking about. I've been doing since I was like born. But since I had a brain, just manifest it. Like if you see it, if you don't see it, like just create it.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, so that's the first piece. And then the actual tactics, right? Like how do you actually do it is the next piece. But so many people hold themselves back. So many people would be in that position and would say, well, nobody's ever gotten recruited from here before. Fuck it. I'll play for the community college or whatever,
or just not even see it as a possibility. Like just the fact that like just seeing outside the box of like what's possible.
Exactly.
I mean, I love that for the inspiration. And then like you were saying, you were actually employing this technique without knowing it.
Yeah. So I feel like everybody can probably look back and think of a time that they were doing this without knowing it. And the cool part is when you start getting intentional about it, things really blow up. So the reason I have this hat is because step one of achieving any dream, in my opinion, is like to block out the people that are going to get in the way of it. Mm-hmm. So my hat says "Goat to Hell." And there's no possible way I would ever have gotten that football scholarship had I not blocked out all the kids that were making fun of me, that were saying, you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not tall enough.
I was literally just talking about this. I told Adi, someone reached out to me and she was like, my coach said that I need to reach out to, however many women that scare me. And you're one of those women. I'm like, what? And she like just picked my brain for 30 minutes about how I got to where I am and how like, my path to success and all of that kind of stuff. And that was like the first thing that I sat on was like all the things in my life that are successful, from my relationship to my career to philosophy, anything happened because I had to block out the naysayers, just opinions, not even naysayers, just like anything else. I just had to be on my track, on my path without thinking about anyone else. And the minute that I tapped into that intuition, into that alignment of where I'm supposed to be, it just happened. It didn't take a lot of struggle. It was more like just believing in it and blocking out any
permission.
Yeah.
You
need permission.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To shine.
Or like, hey, we're giving you permission right now.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
If you needed it, you got it right now.
Whoever's out there listening, yeah, absolutely. You have the three of us. We have, and on the behalf of every single goat in the world, you have permission to do whatever the hell you want to do. And if there's people getting in the way of it, then you just have to get rid of them. Somehow. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So that was your first experience at going, oh, I can reach out to the people I dream about being with or being connected to. And some of them fucking respond. Like some of them do something. That's amazing. Right. Now, how do we get here now?
Yeah. So then I quit playing football and because concussions and stuff. And then start going back into the entrepreneurial stuff and like hard and struggling and kind of just all over the place, doing what I can to pay my bills. Then I started chasing a lot of shiny objects, started like just craziness. And then
and for people who don't know, because like I feel like shiny object is this phrase that gets tossed around a lot around these like online marketing places. But it's like all the courses, all the books, all the things, all the methods people offer you to get rich, right? Like I got $250,000 in 1 month by doing this really, really easy thing that you can do in 15 seconds.
Just click here
And give me like $400. So that's one of those things.
Yep, exactly. Well said. So I chased enough of those. And then I read a book by Russell Brunson. And there was a chapter, it's called .com Secrets. And it's a book on marketing and that kind of thing. And there was a chapter in there
right here.
on the Dream 100. And I read it and I was like, my world stopped. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is my life. Like that's the shit I've been doing. I need to do more of that. So then Russell gives a credit to Chet Holmes, who's the inventor of it. So then I started deep diving on Chet stuff. And here's the thing. Nobody ever like created a book on it, or it was always just a chapter and just like a little afterthought. I'm like, dude, this is way too important, way too good. So I ended up writing the damn book on it called the Dream 100 book. I got Russell to write the foreword. Unfortunately, Chet has passed on, or else I would have definitely had him collaborate as well. But so it's between like hitting rock bottom and being so sick of the shiny object chasing and like figuring out, oh my gosh, the Dream One, like being introduced to the Dream 100 by way of those two things that you see me here today. And that's why I've taken the seat as the champion for the Dream 100.
I love it. I love the story. Again, just because it's so improbable. Can I just ask, this is a question I've never asked you before, so I think it would be really cool. Like, I mean, obviously you have a Dream 100 list. I'm assuming it's shifted from the first time you created it, because the person who created it the first time didn't have the connections and the contacts you have now. So I got a couple of questions, and maybe this would be kind of fun. A, what are like 2 or 3 of the just biggest names you have on your Dream 100 list?
Okay, so definitely Russell Brunson is like top. And it's kind of funny, when I first created my first intentional Dream 100 list, I put him at the top. It was like 3 years ago, and it was on this sketchy whiteboard in my apartment at the time. And I looked at it and I erased it. I was like, nope, like he will never ever work with me. That is a terrible idea, Dana. What are you doing? And I sat there. I was like, oh, maybe. And I rewrote it kind of like with an asterisk, whatever. And then fast forward now, I mean, he wrote the foreword to my book. I got to speak at his event. He's coming to speak at my event. All this crazy, amazing stuff. So definitely Russell. Let's see. Oh man, I've got this one's kind of funny. Matthew Lesko. Okay. You know who that is? He's the guy the crazy guy that wears the question mark suits. That's always talking about like free money, this free money. Like, man,
that's amazing. We will have links to what he does.
Okay. And then of course, some of the people in our space, like, Grant Cardone or, those kind of folks.
Okay. Do you put, so like when I did it off of the book, I put, again, I'm in the addiction space, but in mental health in general. And like, I just wrote a book. And so, I put like Oprah's on my list, I mean, you were talking about putting a name that is too big. I went through the same kind of thing, and I was like, well, fuck it. I mean, I know the people whose impact I think will help generate what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to save 1 million people from addiction, like I got to go big. I can't do it playing small. Do you, I'm sure you do, and they're in the book, and people, I think we're going to do something where you're going to give away a couple of books, and then you're going to have a link for people to be able to do this thing with you, and a whole course on how to do this. But what are, like, when people are thinking about their Dream 100, for some people, that's probably really scary. Sophie's talking about a woman on Instagram that felt scared reaching out to her. What is just like really quick, how do you recommend for people to even start thinking about who it is they want on this list for themselves and who they want to collaborate with?
Totally. So, the other half of my football scholarship story that I haven't really told until recently, because nobody wants to talk about the bad, is I failed to put the big schools that I wanted to, like the Wisconsin, the USC, the Texas, the Florida, the big schools. So I didn't even try. And it's because I let the naysayers and the self-doubt in. So I ended up having my scholarship to a small school. So what I tell people is you have to have A's, B's, and C's. So A's would be the Oprah Winfrey's, the, Ellen DeGeneres, that kind of name, where it's like, it is a long shot, but shit, if you're not going to try, it'll never happen. But then I want to be realistic too, because if you chase around just those people, it may be a decade before you get their attention, before you actually get to do anything with them. And for a lot of people, it's just not sustainable. So I talk about having A's, B's, and C's in your targets. And the A's are obviously going to be longer to get a hold of them and to get, the relationship established and built to the point where you can do something with them, but the payout's much higher. Whereas the B's and the C's, especially the C's, it's a lot quicker and easier to get their attention and get to, do something with them. The payout's not quite as big. So I like to have a good equal mix of the three. And then that fills me up from the beginning all the way to the end. And the cool part is, as you go through the C's, you get to refine and perfect your process. By the time you get a hold, in to actually work with the A's, totally. Everything's dialed in. So that's how I look at it.
That's awesome. I love it. So you talked about Russell as one of the people that you had put on your list originally and already got to check, right? Like, do you put a checkbox next to one of them every time and you kind of like, bam, done?
I should. I should have like a little mini celebration or something.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of, again, I work with a lot of people who have addiction and mental health problems. So I'm all about celebrating victories.
Yeah.
Because, look, this whole thing you're talking about, the reason, again, that it was so big for me to bring this on is people get so isolated in their efforts to try to do something. And what I love about this is it actually takes you out of that, like forces you out of it. because you're talking about the C's, and what I'm understanding from the C's is like, those are the people that you know you can probably reach pretty darn quickly. And I know there's probably an entire path of, because this whole thing is about how do you collaborate with them and do something that is mutually beneficial to everybody, right? That's a big part of it. Like even in your football scholarship, you did that and you reached out because you thought they would benefit from having you on the football team.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, so the same sort of thing works out in these business ventures. And so what's like, I'm trying to think kind of how to phrase this. So how do you position yourself? How do you get it through your head to kind of go like, okay, it's not, I don't just have to work on getting my own and muscling this out on my own, but having these collaborations to be useful for everybody. How does that work for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many ripple effects. It's insane. So for your audience specifically, I think like I can completely relate to like, feeling like, one of my coaches actually described it as feeling like a, penguin in a world of walruses. Right. So you don't look like them. You don't act like them. You don't talk like them, and shit, they want to eat you. Right. So, what's cool about the Dream 100 is like, no matter how you use it, business or personal, whatever, like you are literally creating your own like private network and surrounding yourself with the right people. Right. Even if they're, digital, right. Even if they're over the internet, doesn't matter. Like all of a sudden, all your friends on Facebook or whatever become like-minded people that actually bring you up and help you, right, in the way that you need. So for me, like it all begins with like just unconditional giving, right? And she is so cute, I cannot handle it.
Thank you. Noah just made her appearance for this episode. Oh,
hi.
You don't have kids, right?
I've got one little one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. How old is she?
She's almost 3 months.
Okay. Yeah. Mine is just over a month.
Oh my gosh.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wait, how did I not know that? And you're throwing your conference this weekend? Oh my God, man. You're insane. Yeah. All right.
Well, she looks well behaved. Look at her.
Girl or boy?
Little girl.
Oh,
beautiful.
Congrats.
Beautiful. Congratulations,
Thanks.
man. That's awesome.
Right back at you guys. Yeah. I feel your what you're going through.
Yeah. This is our third, so it's like you figure it out.
Yeah. It doesn't make it easier, but does it make it like less like dramatic?
It's less scary. It's more like they're gonna survive. Like they're good. Like if they sleep a little, or if they like cry a little longer in their crib, like it's fine. Like take a shower,
Totally, they'll be all good.
Brush your teeth. It's all good. Like they're gonna be fine.
That's so funny. I love it.
Absolutely. Congratulations. I had no idea, man. That's awesome. That's beautiful. So you're saying as you do this, unconditional giving. I love that, and that again is the opposite of what a lot of people do in this field anyway.
Exactly. And I think I had the best compliment, man, the other day. Somebody introduced me to somebody, and that person, wanted to do something for me. And my buddy said to them, you're not going to outgive Dana. And I was like, wow, like somebody knows me for that. That is so cool. And what I've found is like, so there's two things. Number one, like, I don't think you could ever, but like I get so much more back, even from just people saying, oh my gosh, dude, your book has changed my life. And I didn't make any money on them. If I gave them a copy of it, I lost money, but shoot, like being able to change your life is amazing. And then they tell 50 people about it, and then I get so much more back. But specifically with Dream 100, and you talked about unconditional giving, the only way, I promise you, the only way for you guys listening that you're going to be able to make this work is if you don't put a condition on your giving. So if you spend an hour with somebody, helping them, don't expect to get something from that. Or if you send a gift card to somebody, or if you send a message out to someone, don't expect a response or a thank you, right? Because otherwise it just turns the whole dynamic. And all of a sudden it makes you look like you're just doing it just so you can get something back in return. And then when people are jerks, like it makes you upset too, right?
Yeah, I'm such a giver, and it's crazy. Like you are getting something back, even if you're not getting something back. Because to me, like it's just my makeup. I need to give and provide. Yesterday, I was actually having kind of a good day, and like I did a couple small things. One example, and like I know myself so well now. I'm 34 years old. Like I know that I receive so much by giving, and so I was leaving LAX and like just getting something, the TSA pre-check, finally getting that done. And I'm leaving and I paid like double, I was like paying, I had like too much cash. I gave her $10 for like 3. And I was like, just keep it for the next 2 people. And she was like, first of all, in awe and shock. There was no one even behind me. So it's not like I was getting affirmation to like be like, haha, I'm the one that like is doing a good thing today. Like no one was there. Like it's just the next 2 people. And I left and like things just started to align better yesterday. Like it just happened. It was such a small thing and such a small gesture of giving, but it transformed my day. And even if it would have ended up that way anyway, in my mind, it was like, oh, because I was just being good. I was just doing the right thing,
That's amazing. And for all you know, this is like a perfect example. I appreciate you sharing that. For all you know, she put that money in her pocket and took it home, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Like but that means she neaded it.
Great, then take it.
Yeah, that's why the unconditional part is so important. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. What is that like? Sorry, because I want people to walk away from this. I hope they get your book and all that kind of stuff, but I want people to walk away with some actionable tips. So like, you've got your list. Let's say you first reach out to your C people. Are you literally reaching out, kind of just saying like, hey, really would love to connect. I see your work and it's really incredible and beautiful. I'd love to just get a chance to chat.
So what I usually do is just offer my thing. So for those of you listening, I have no idea what your thing is. You have a superpower, believe it or not. Typically our superpowers are very unexciting to us and seem like normal everyday stuff. Here's an example. Let's say a mother of 5 kids happens to be fit. They find time to go to the gym and eat healthy. To them, that's normal. That's their routine. That's who they are. To a mom who has the same amount of kids and who is not fit, that's amazing, right? They want to know how that happens. So that might be a superpower. So I take that superpower, whatever it is, and I offer that to my people on my Dream 100. So for me, I have given out so much, like so many books. I've given out so much copywriting because that's kind of my trade skill that I did for a long time. So I just give that. I just offer that from the get-go. And not everybody is ready to accept it or wants it. So it is a number game in a way, but I just start with giving that. Like that's the first thing.
That's awesome. Beautiful. And obviously, I mean, look, you got the Dream 100 conference, the first one, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
A couple of days.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful. And like you said, Russell's speaking at it and a lot of other really cool things are happening. But I'm assuming since you've started really employing this, like you said, in a deliberate way, there have been massive other changes in your life that you've experienced. There's that phrase, I think I've shared it a few times in the past, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, you're not talking about 5, you're talking about 100, right? So you're talking about removing the naysayers. It's like you're almost creating this endless buffer around you. The people who come back are the people who connect to you and the people who see the value because the reason they connect to you is because of what you offer them. So they see the value in that. That's a given. And then you get to grow together. What have been some of the most incredible changes in you personally, in your family, in your business, and everything that you've seen over the last however long you want to say since you started employing this in a really deliberate way?
So I love that. This is really cool. I think for me, like I have now in the last like 2 years, since I really started getting intentional about this, I've been able to actually become who I am and not sort of pocket that. So I've always been like kind of half who I was and then half like trying to please people and not stand out too much.
Sure.
And now my network has become so heavy in terms of like the people I want to be around that I'm almost not who I am when I'm not acting like this. It's the pendulum has swung the other way.
I love it. That's my favorite thing on life. You know what? When you find your passion, and then you get to make a life that is centered around that, you look back at some point and you go like, fuck, how did I ever live that old way?
Right.
How did I survive that?
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's cool. And it's obviously grown your business a ton.
Oh man. Yeah. It's insane.
That's so cool. So if any kind of like last minute things, I mean, it's kind of funny. Sophie is so not your typical business person. And I mean, she's laughing because it's true. It's funny because it's true. But part of the way I mean that is, Sophie started with Instagram, what was that, like 5 years ago?
Like whenever it started.
5-6 years ago. And it was just, posting pictures, etc.
Posting pictures also of like my business. Like I think I figured it out relatively early when it came. Here's the thing. I may not be like a business person in any, definition of the word, but I'm a hustler. That's like one thing is like, if I put my mind on something or if I want something, I go and get it. And I work hard. It's not just like, oh, I'm manifesting my dreams and I write it down on a paper and then it comes. Like I write it down, I manifest it, and then I work for it. I make it happen.
Agrees. No,
so
you definitely
might not be the traditional sense of business. Like I really don't care about numbers. I really don't look at them. I just am like, it'll all work out, and I trust in that. Which probably isn't great business, but I don't really care.
Well, but what I was talking about is more like the collaboration piece. Like the thing that Dana talks about is you are about community. And so, she goes against every advice every Instagram expert has given her about how to run her account. Like literally we've had, I would argue, the biggest Instagram manager in the industry, like the guy who manages $70-80 million follower accounts for the biggest stars on earth. And he told her verbatim, like I was on the call, it was a speaker call. We were on the way out to Palm Springs, I think. And he told her, hey, I looked at your account. This is how you're fucking up. This is what you got to fix. And she goes, okay. She didn't do any of that shit. She claims that she did it for like 3 months or something. You didn't. He told her to focus on one thing. She focused on 3. She's like, I did, but I just really changed it. And so, but the beautiful thing about it is she grows organically and has her people, the people who follow her are huge fans because she gives and she's so authentic. And so she connects with people who feel the same. And, she has her network of other people in her field who are really connected to her, doing kind of like that Dream 100 thing without calling it that, which is why I wanted to have her on this.
Also coming back to what we started with, full circle, not listening to naysayers, not listening to the okay, so you're Ariana Grande's manager, like for Instagram. So that doesn't mean anything. I know myself and I know my people and I know my followers, and I refuse to live an inauthentic life. And to me, like that goes through to social media too. And we are what we put our energy on. We are what we see. We are who we spend our time with. So if I'm like putting a bunch of bullshit on social media because it's what's going to grow my account, that's not going to fulfill me. And I know that. So,
yeah.
And I think it's extremely important too, for everyone to think about, like, you are going to like manifest like who you want in your world. And so when you start doing that stuff that kind of cheapens who you are, you're going to attract people who you don't want.
Exactly. And then you're going to end up, being a lot of followers that you aren't authentic. They're not really following you. They're following the fake version of you.
Exactly. Amen.
Look, I love this. This is so cool. As we pointed out, I think we're going to have, I want to keep talking to you and keep connecting with you, but we'll have many, many more opportunities for that. I feel like.
Also, he's not coming to the thing this weekend because I'm making him stay home for his birthday. Literally his birthday on Monday. And he's like, I think I'm going to go to this thing. You're not going to this thing. I don't care what it is. We're celebrating your birthday.
Remember when I told you I can't go?
Yeah, no, I totally respect that one. And we'll have to get you to the next one though. Yes. And I'll make sure it's not on your birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So funny. I love it. I'm like, what? I'll fly the day before, and then I'll come back like at nighttime, I think.
Nope.
So that is not happening.
Hey, you try.
How your relationship works, Dana, but this is how my relationship works.
Yeah, you're smarter than me.
listen to your wife frequently is one of the tips. That'll be this week's relationship tip. Yeah. Listen to your wife more frequently than you think you should.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Cool. So we got 5 questions we ask everybody. I know we'll have links for people for your book, and we will have, I think your assistant was telling us that we're actually giving away 2 books, and I'm really excited about that. So, but I don't know if that's true or not. We'll, you guys listening right now, you have to look at the show notes to figure that out, but we will for sure have a link to the course that teaches people how to do this, like how to actually implement this in their life, in their business, etc., which will be really, really cool. Is there something that I'm forgetting that you feel like people should know about you, about what you're doing, about what's coming up for you?
I just I hope that anybody out there listening, just if you feel like you don't fit for whatever reason, whether that's how you're who you're around, the city you live in, the like life you're living, the job you have. Like, just know that that's temporary. And at the end of the day, just as Adi said, it's up to you to change that. Okay. So we've already given you permission. Now it's time to like actually go and use that. Cause I've walked that walk. And I will tell you, like, I know you've probably heard this before, but it's true. Like, dude, I'm a goat farmer who like made it, Right. So if I can do that, then you can totally do whatever you're trying to do.
I love it. So good. And so, following on that, we've got these questions. I think weirdly, I think I actually know the answer to some of these questions based on what we talked about, but I'm going to check it out. So we got 5 questions we ask everybody. And the first one is, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh man. For sure. It's, a quote from Earl Nightingale. He says, don't follow the majority, do the opposite, because the majority is almost always wrong.
I love that. Wow. Okay.
Love that.
Take that to heart, listeners. What has been your proudest moment to date?
Shoot, probably it's gotta be when I watched my daughter come into the world. That was crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah. Insane.
I don't know what your experience was like, but when Kai, my oldest boy, was born, like my knees buckled. I almost fell down. It was, I can't describe it to any other human. But
it's like watching a movie, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's surreal.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you, man. That's so great.
What has been your hardest moment?
Ooh, in my life?
Yeah.
Man, I think letting go of the people I knew I had to, lifelong friends, even some family, to enable me to get to where I need to go.
I feel that hard.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's powerful.
What, on a daily basis or just in general, like a self-care ritual or something that you just do in general, something that fills you up?
The gym. I would not be able to be mentally stable if I didn't have that. And so I actually built a gym at my house. I'm like, this is so, like, here in Wisconsin, it's 40 below sometimes in the winter. Right. So it's like, even though the gym's only 10 minutes away, I'm like, I made the gym come here, and it's been amazing. So that's for sure, like, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Is that a daily thing for you? Do you work out every day?
Probably about 6 out of 7 of the days. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And then last but not least, this podcast is called Ignited. And so what ignites you? What burns you up? What gets you going?
Reading the success stories of the people that I'm helping. So, man, there's not, like, whenever something bad happens, if doesn't matter what it is, I just like circle myself with that. If you saw the rest of my office, I got 2,000 more square feet, and it's covered. The walls are covered with people's faces. I'm pretty sure your face is on there, with their stories of saying awesome stuff. And that just keeps me ignited and alive.
Love that.
That's beautiful, man. We got to keep that front and center. And obviously you're changing a lot of people's lives and doing a lot of great things. So that's really cool. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much. Both be at the next one.
Yeah, we'll be at the next one, and we'll be sending good vibes your way. Although it's going to be so cool and so amazing.
I'm excited. Well, thank you guys. I'm so glad to have chatted with you.
Oh,
congratulations
again. Congratulations on your little girl.
Enjoy her.
And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everybody for listening. Go to hell, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.